The streets of Kolkata were alive with their usual chaos. The honking of yellow taxis, the clatter of tram bells, and the cries of street vendors selling everything from ripe mangoes to freshly made jawmori filled the air. Among the crowd on Park Street was an old man, Mr. Anirban, who quietly observed the bustling world around him from his usual spot at Fleury's, a charming colonial-era tea room. At 75, Anirban was a retired professor of literature. A man of routine, he spent his mornings reading newspapers and sipping Darjeeling tea, his evenings walking along the Hooghly River, and his nights reminiscing about a life well lived. But beneath his calm exterior was a deep loneliness. His wife, Mira, had passed away 5 years ago, and his son had moved to America. Anirban's days were filled with books and solitude, a stark contrast to the vibrant city that pulsed around him. One rainy afternoon, as he sat at Fleury's with a steaming cup of tea and a copy of Rabindranath Tagore's poems, a burst of laughter caught his attention. He looked up to see a young woman, probably in her early 20s, entering the cafe with an umbrella dripping with rain. Her long black hair was slightly damp, and her eyes sparkled with joy as she greeted the waiter. She had a presence that lit up the room, a brightness Anirban hadn't noticed in years. The young woman, Aditi, took a seat near the window, ordering a plate of pastries and a coffee. She pulled out a sketchbook and began drawing, her pencil moving swiftly across the page. Anirban couldn't help but be intrigued. He had always appreciated art and creativity, and there was something captivating about her focus and energy. Their first interaction was accidental. Aditi's pencil rolled off the table and landed near Anirban's feet. He picked it up and handed it to her with a polite smile. "Thank you," she said warmly. "I get so lost in drawing that I forget to keep track of my things." "It's a good habit to lose yourself in your passion," Anirban replied. "What are you drawing, if I may ask?" Aditi hesitated for a moment, then turned the sketchbook to show him a detailed drawing of the bustling street outside. "I love capturing the life of the city," she said. "There's so much energy here." Anirban's eyes lit up. "It's beautiful. You have a great eye for detail. I used to teach literature, and one of the things I admired most in my students was their ability to see the world through fresh perspectives." That brief exchange marked the beginning of their unlikely friendship. Aditi began frequenting Fleury's more often, and Anirban found himself looking forward to their conversations. They talked about art, books, and the city they both loved. Aditi told him about her dream of becoming an illustrator and how she was working on a graphic novel set in Kolkata. Anirban shared stories from his youth, tales of love, loss, and the beauty of fleeting moments. One evening, as they walked along the Hooghly River, Aditi turned to Anirban with a question that caught him off guard. "Have you ever been in love?" she asked. Anirban chuckled, a hint of sadness in his voice. "Many times, but the greatest love of my life was my wife, Mira. She was my anchor, my inspiration. Losing her felt like losing a part of myself." Aditi's eyes softened. "I'm sorry. It must be hard to carry that kind of loss." "It is," he admitted. "But meeting you has reminded me that life still holds surprises, even in its later years." As the weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. Anirban found himself drawn to Aditi's youthful spirit, her ability to find beauty in the mundane. She, in turn, admired his wisdom and the way he spoke about life with poetic eloquence. Their connection was unconventional, but it was real. One day, as they sat by the Victoria Memorial, Aditi said, "You've changed my life, Anirban. I never imagined finding a friend like you." He smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "And you've brought color back into mine, Aditi. For that, I'll always be grateful." But their relationship wasn't without challenges. Gossip began to spread among the regulars at Fleury's and the neighbors who saw them together. Whispers about the old professor and the young artist filled the air, some accusing, others pitying. Aditi's parents, who were traditional and protective, confronted her about her frequent meetings with Anirban. "What will people say?" her mother asked, her voice tinged with worry. He's old enough to be your grandfather. He's my friend, Aditi replied firmly. He understands me in a way no one else does. Why should age matter? Despite the growing scrutiny, their bond remained unshaken. Anirban, however, began to question whether their friendship was fair to Aditi. One evening, as they sat by the river, he said, Aditi, maybe it's best if we spend less time together. I don't want to complicate your life. Aditi looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. You've taught me to see the world differently, to believe in my dreams. How can I walk away from that? Anirban sighed, touched by her words but still unsure. The world may not understand us, Aditi, but if this friendship means as much to you as it does to me, then I will cherish it for as long as it lasts. As the seasons change, so did their lives. Aditi's graphic novel was published, earning her critical acclaim. She dedicated the book to Anirban, calling him her greatest inspiration. Anirban, in turn, found a renewed sense of purpose, mentoring young writers and sharing his love for literature with a new generation. Years later, as Anirban sat by the Hooghly River, now slower in his movements but still sharp in his mind, he thought about Aditi. She had moved to London to pursue her career but still wrote to him regularly. Her letters filled with stories of her adventures and gratitude for the lessons he had taught her. Their friendship had weathered judgment and distance, proving that love, in all its forms, was timeless. Anirban's heart was full, not just with memories of the past, but with the knowledge that he had found a kindred spirit in the most unexpected of places.